For those of you who are worried about Trump's prospects in the 2024 election, I'm going to alleviate those and show you how Trump may very well be winning in a landslide. And I'm going to use some historical data to show this to you, going back to a time in our history in 1980. And this happened because I was talking with my daughter this morning. And we were talking, I said, I wish you could have experienced America when it was America and things weren't quite so crazy. It wasn't that we were perfect, but it was a much better time to grow up in, much more freedom and so on, and not as crazy. And I'm going back to the time of Ronald Reagan. And so if you go back to the 80s, in 1980, Ronald Reagan was running against Jimmy Carter. There was another third-party candidate who was actually picking up 6 to 8% of the vote. But I'm going to focus on Carter and Reagan. And if you look at the polling data through that year, we had the same problems that we have now, which is massive inflation, a slowing economy. We also had problems overseas. We had the Iran-Contra affair back then. And we had a candidate in Jimmy Carter who ran on social issues like Kamala Harris is doing, where Trump is actually focusing on key core issues to the American voter. And if you look back in that period of time, I have the polling data right here. It shows in June and July and early August, Ronald Reagan actually picked up a lead, just like we saw here with Trump versus Joe Biden. Now, when they switched to Kamala Harris, who can't complete a sentence, throws out word salad, but she's the greatest thing they've got, okay, we see that, Kamala Harris is being shown as up in the polls. But the final result of that election actually ended up, it tightened a little bit, October, November, but many of the polls still showed Jimmy Carter ahead by 6 to 8 points. And then it tightened up right at the end, but it was still off. Because if you look at what the actual result was, it was Reagan just under 51%, Carter at 41%, and Reagan picking up 496 electoral votes, the third-party candidate coming in with 6.61% of the vote. But that all happened at the very end of that race. Okay. In addition, right now, if we look at the national average of polls in 2020, Biden was up September 23rd by 7.1 points in 2020. In 2016, it showed Clinton up by 3 points, and we all know how that ended. Okay, so the reality is Kamala Harris is in a much weaker position with much bigger problems that she actually owns. Folks, we could see a Trump landslide victory in spite of all the cheating that's going on. Okay, because remember, when you're looking at those kinds of numbers that Ronald Reagan pulled out, that's what we need, because they're automatically registering people as they get their driver's licenses now so they can backfill data. I mean, if you haven't seen the video of the van pulling into the TCF Center at 3 a.m. unloading ballots, if you haven't seen the videos out of Georgia, if you haven't seen the testimony of the truck driver in Pennsylvania, don't think they didn't steal this election last time. But we need to actually make it too big to rig. We're going to have to come out in mass numbers. We need a 60-40 win like we saw in 1984. And if you don't think that's possible, they wouldn't be trying to kill Trump. They wouldn't be releasing today Rout's letter, whatever his name is, about offering up a bounty for President Trump. This is the kind of state stuff that the deep state is doing because they see the signs. They're wringing their hands. The handwriting is on the wall. Folks, we could see a massive, massive Trump win, but it will only happen if you get out there and vote and haul all of your friends to the polls. See you on the next episode. Peace out.